In this video, I wanted to go over a little bit more in detail some of this formatting for your floats. Oftentimes, when you're learning coding for the first time, a lot of the examples want you to uh, make sure your output looks good. You know, line up your decimal points, pad things appropriately. I want to go over some of the methods for doing that. Uh, just using floats in this example. I'll make some other videos on the other data types because they're all a little different. But the idea is pretty close to the same. So I'm going to start with the example from the last video I made, uh, inputting a float. I'm going to change this around a little bit so we don't have to input numbers, and we can do a couple of them so you can see how the different formatting strings, how they affect how it outputs. So yeah. So this first time I am going to just print all the numbers, just a space between them, so you can see what that kind of looks like. So just going to print it without any specifying any formatting. Just print all three numbers. All right, so here's the output from that. Those three numbers I put in. Didn't specify a specific format in the float, so 6 decimal places printed on each one. In each case, it was either padded with zeros or rounded. So let's say we want to print everything with only 2 decimal places. Just between the percent and the F, put 0.2. That specifies 2 decimal places. And there now you can see the numbers all printed with only 2 decimal places. And things like 0.987 rounded to 0.99. Let's say you were trying to line these up. Let's fix it. So I'm going to add a new line in between each one of these so they're on top of each other. All right. So now you can see those 3 numbers printed with 2 decimal places all on top of each other. But let's say you want your output to align all of the decimal places. That's a common exercise. So to do that, all you need to do is add a number before the point in the format string right here. So the way this format string works, this first number, let's just put a 6. So $sign or percent 6.2f, percent 6.2f, percent 6.2f. The 6 is going to tell the format string that I want to reserve a space for 6 total characters. So it's going to automatically align the decimal points for me. So now when I run this, you can see that now the decimal points are lined up. One note though on this total size is 6. That does also include the decimal point, so you got to make sure you include room for that as well. And it looks like I probably could have done 5 because we're only printing 2 and 2 and 1. So, um, so that's common. And if you change the number of decimal places in a particular one, that's gonna kind of mess up everything a little bit, but just for fun, I'll show you what that looks like. Let's increase, let's not do 5, do 0. So now that I have a different number of decimal places in each one, now my fields, they're still all aligned along the right edge, But since I have a different number of decimal digits, my decimals don't line up. So you got to work that out in your head if you're dealing with different sized numbers. But if you're, most of the examples that I've seen, usually you're outputting the same number of decimals each time. Let's change that to 3 and kind of see that again. There we go. So a total of 6 with 3 decimal places in each number, all aligned on the right. One more thing you can do real quick with this is to have zero fill on the left. So say you wanted leading zeros so that every number was exactly the same size. So for instance, right here, where we only had 1 digit before the decimal place, if you wanted a zero fill here in your format string, before the number, you just put in a 0, just like that. And now in the output, you can see that if there was not enough digits before the decimal place, it 0 filled. Second number had 2, so it didn't 0 fill. The last one, it was printing the leading 0 before the decimal place, but now it's printing 2.